the Son of God in monotheism, in Judaism, has a very different meaning than the Son of God in the Greek Roman mind. And the Son of God was very important to the Graeco Roman. When I use the word, when historians use the term Graeco Roman, we're always talking about a period from about 200 BCE to 200 CE. Mm-hmm. Both of them make a lot of sense, but one of them is correct. To the Greek mind, and that's what the New Testament is, it's producing a sonship that's very important. When does Jesus become the Son of God? And what does that mean? In the Greek mind, just as the son of a giraffe is a giraffe, the son of a frog is a frog, the son of a squirrel is a squirrel, the Son of God must be a God as well. Okay? That seems very odd to us, but to them, this wasn't nonsense. To them, this made all the sense in the world. As you pointed out in the passages that you identified, in the Scripture, the Son of God is not divine in any way. You pointed to 2 Samuel chapter 7, verse 12 through 16. That's a Davidic covenant. Mm-hmm. It's referring specifically to the one who builds the house and the children of King David, that he will be to me a son. King Solomon was hardly a god, but he was the Son of God. The Son mm-hmm. of God means in the Bible someone who is performing the work, the activities of God on earth. It doesn't mean that but in the ancient world, if you were a great athlete, the Olympics are going on at this time in Sochi. Mm-hmm. There was an athlete, Hercules, who was so fabulous, his strength was so extraordinary that it was thought by the ancient world that he couldn't possibly be a mere mortal. He had to be something more than that. He had to be the Son of God.
He had to be a demigod.
He had to be but they didn't he just had to be a god. And mm-hmm. what that meant was that his mother, who was a virgin, according to this kind of thinking, was impregnated by Zeus, and produced mm-hmm. someone who was not equal to God. No one in the ancient world, this is misunderstood by monotheists, because all religions that we're acquainted with are of a monotheistic orientation. So this is very strange to us. But in the ancient world, no one believed that Pythagoras, for example, who was brilliant, a philosopher, very well known for his formulation of a squared plus b squared, they saw him as a god. Romulus, the founder of Rome. But no one in the ancient world thought that this god, Hercules, was equal to in any way to Zeus. Zeus was the absolute, he's the one who got it all. He's the one who created the world. But Zeus is too busy running the planet to bother with your prayers. So people didn't pray to Zeus. Zeus had bigger things to deal with than you. So you pray to these other gods. Therefore, that's the model that's going to begin to emerge in John as well. And that is, Jesus could be a god, but doesn't mean he is the God. But I understand why Christians, using our model, going, well, if he's God, there can only be one God, and that means he's God created the universe. The Trinity, or the doctrine that Jesus is God in the flesh, is not in the New Testament, but the notion that Jesus was a kind of God. But this isn't a Greek model, because by the time John is written, late first century, the conversion of Jews to Christianity had ended, probably by about the year 50. Once we get to the second half of the first century, almost all the converts are Gentiles. They're going to bring with them the Greek mind, the Greek understanding. And therefore the prologue of John, when we say prologue, we mean the first 18 verses of the fourth gospel, which is, it's called higher Christology. What that means is that this prologue is the most, Jesus is portrayed as in the highest, most elevated form anywhere in Christian canonical literature. But John is not thinking that Jesus is equal to the Father, and we can see that much later on in the book of John. But he is kind of a God who he did not become son at a baptism, that Mark would have us believe. That's how we're introduced to Jesus in the book of Mark. He doesn't become a son then, and according to Matthew and Luke, he becomes a son at his conception and his birth. But for John, it's a much earlier period, and some time before that. And therefore, John is never going to mention Jesus' mother by name. Never. It's the only gospel where Mary's name is never mentioned. And when his mother is spoken of as the famous miracle in Cana, at the wedding were, for some reason, I know the Assemblies of God that prohibits its people from drinking alcohol, but for some reason Jesus turns water into wine. It should have been the other way around, thinking about it, right? I know that's Jason's favorite miracle in the New Testament.
No, that's the night you wanted the party.
Basically, don't mess with that story. That's it. Well, why would it be turning water into wine? That would be like turning vapor into marijuana. That doesn't make sense. But the key is, Jesus' mother is there spoken of quite derisively. Woman, what do I have to do with you? All the Christian comments saying, because she's not important. So sonship is very big. When it happens, it's going to progress going backwards. It's going to recede backwards in Jesus' career. And therefore, it's important to understand that even though you, the listener, may have come out of the church and you have recognized there is one God and the Messiah has not come yet, there is smoke around you, and therefore these texts, which seem provocative, are not provocative at all if you had never been exposed to Christian thinking.
قل يا أهل الكتاب تعالوا إلى كلمة سواء بيننا وبينكم ألا نعبد إلا الله ولا نشرك به شيئا ولا يتخذ بعضنا بعضا أربابا من دون الله فإن تولوا فقولوا اشهدوا بأننا مسلمون